1. Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Online at madeformorerealty.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
Matt, so this guest today is probably an answer to prayer. Like poor Valerie, when she got in this industry, she thought it was
your wife.
My
for
wife.
Those that don't know,
my wife. She thought this would be a short-term fix, and then like a short-term position, and then fast forward 10 plus years later, 2.5 babies, and she's still
2.5 babies. Meaning she's pregnant.
She's pregnant with
you
the
guys
third.
Literally have a half a baby.
No, we didn't have a half a baby, but. We've been looking for this person essentially for 10 years, so it's a lot of fun to have on the show.
News? Is this like your wife is transitioning out of real estate?
No. No, this just gives her the ability to choose to work with who she wants to work with.
Oh.
In a way that she wants to do it.
Nice.
Yeah. So less of a grind, but that's why it's so much fun to have on the show today, Shannon Bassham. Thanks for being on the show, Shannon.
Thank you for having me.
Shannon Bassham.
Bassham, you got it. And so. Real quick, do you know how we found you or how we
So she works for you.
She does. Shannon works for us. Yeah.
In what capacity?
Yeah, Shannon, what do you do for us?
I am a closing manager, Johnny's assistant, and also I like to consider myself half of his brain.
Half of the brain, wow. You're right. The better half, probably.
So do you smoke cigars?
Unfortunately, I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay. So we're not that level yet.
We're working on it. It'll happen. Everybody gives in eventually. But no, so I traveled all across the country, shadowing these other team leaders, people who were selling, 500, 750, 2,000 houses a year. I'm like, hey, what can I do? Because we want to make sure that we're growing the business responsibly. And one guy, I'll never forget, he said, Johnny, if you were to drop me into another part of the country, I didn't have any money, I didn't have any contacts, didn't have anything. He said, I would start making calls, like I would start dialing for business. And then he's like, and they immediately retracted the statement and said, nope, that's not what I would do. Even if I had no money, I would figure out a way to hire an assistant, and I would hire the assistant, and then I would start making calls because I know I would need that assistant very quickly. And in order to build the business, in order to provide the level of customer care that the clients expect, you need like a Shannon. And so that was on a Monday. That was Monday morning, Monday afternoon. We had an ad. Tuesday morning, we were interviewing Shannon. And so that's how we found you. Mm-hmm. And so since Shannon has come on, like I just want to touch on a little bit. So when we introduce people to Shannon, normally I go to the appointment and I say, hey, what happens next is I'm going to get you on a group text thread between typically a husband and wife, and Shannon. And Shannon's my business partner. And what we're going to do is we're going to take whatever that next step is. And so from that moment forward, Shannon is what you're like booking the home readiness consultations, doing the photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the idea behind your role is to provide that higher level of customer care than what a solo agent can provide. So Shannon, you have you started this list of things that I need to do every single day. Mm-hmm. You mind sharing a little bit about the list and how we work that?
Yeah, we have a shared note that we have in our phones and our computer. And what we do is I just write tasks that I need done every single day for Johnny, and then he writes tasks that need to be done for me. We get on a phone call and just try to knock out the calls together and knock out anything that we can over the phone. And if not, then we deal with the other things in person.
Absolutely. So like, for example, I was in an appointment in Elk Grove, driving to Newcastle for another appointment. I was like, Shannon, who do I need to call? And so together, we were able to merge the call and talk to the clients together and knock out, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 different...
5 or 6 calls in like 15 minutes.
Yep, and the clients love it because I'm still involved. Mm-hmm. Shannon's involved. They now are getting comfortable with Shannon knowing that she's in the picture. And then, so that's kind of how we do it. So something else that Shannon has begun implementing with us is we used to do weekly success calls is what I called them. But now we've upped it. So instead of it being like a once a week touch point with the home sellers, it's 3 times a week. And so Shannon, you might how do we do that?
Yeah, so normally our process now is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mm-hmm. Monday, just sending a quick text going over the activity that's been happening over the weekend and just seeing if they have any questions. Wednesday, we go over a market update with a phone call, going over any feedback that we have received in the past week, also how many views they've gotten on their house or anything. And Friday, we touch base about the open house, see if they have any questions, and yeah.
And there you go. So 3 times a week. That's really hard to do as a solo agent. Like they're out running around, they're showing buyers, they're trying to stay on top of everything. They have a bunch of plates spinning, but our sellers are getting 3 touch points every single week. And one of them is like a written report. And so it's just a high level of communication, which that's the number one complaint I've heard over the 10 plus years we've been doing this. Is the number one complaint with real estate agents is lack of communication.
Well, because in this industry, you would probably agree with this. It's all about relationships. And that's true of really many industries, most industries, I would argue. Even here in radio, it's about relationships.
Yeah.
And it's tough to maintain relationships. It's one reason I don't have a ton of friends, because it takes a lot of work to maintain those relationships.
I don't think that's the only reason. I don't think that's the only reason.
The only reason?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But it takes a lot of work to maintain those relationships. So maybe that's what I need. I'd have more friends if I had an assistant like Shannon here.
If you had a Shannon.
If you're available in the evenings, maybe you can help manage my friendships. But it's true, though, because your clients, you have them because of that relationship. You know, it's obviously all the services that you're providing and everything, but this is a huge transaction in someone's life, and they want that emotional, relational touch. And if you're too busy to do that because you're working on something else, then, you know, they feel like they're not being taken care of. And so when you have someone that's specifically managing that, oh my gosh, that seems like a huge advantage.
Absolutely. And so when I'm meeting people, like they're hiring me because they trust me, right? And they trust the process that I've lined out for them. And then in order for me to maintain that trust, I have to deliver on what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And so often people I've met with, you know, they have worked with an agent who has promised the moon and under delivered. And so our goal is to overpromise, over-deliver, and that's why Shannon's there.
Yeah.
In fact, so for example, some quick success stories from Shannon. Tell them briefly about the San Angelo Drive house, what the original request for repair came in at, and what we were able to negotiate for the seller.
Yeah, so we had the initial request come in for a little over $16,000. It was like $16,320. And,
approximately.
Yeah, about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just had said that we should probably go back and just do $10,000, just trying to get a better deal for them. The repairs that they were asking for were not too important. So we went back with that and ended up doing a little bit of a price reduction and a credit for about $6,000. So it ended up being $10,000.
Well, what's really cool about what they also wanted some of the work done, I think, too. And what Shannon was able to negotiate was that credit, so that way it didn't slow down the closing. Because if you start opening things up, if you start initiating repairs, sometimes there's more that needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
And so those bills grow. So we're like, nope, let's just do a price credit, a price adjustment, and so we'll negotiate that. So that saved that seller $6,000. And then was it Zephyr? Wasn't Zephyr another good one?
Yeah, that was another one. They asked for a little over $13,000, and we got them down to $5,000. I went on a call with the seller, and she said that was what she wanted to go back with. I called the agent. We got it done. There
you go. So people always talk about, hey, what do you charge? What do you charge? And they're always fixated on what the agent charges, but there's so much value that agent brings, and that's why we hired Shannon. She's not new to the industry. We have this. I call it like a 2-person business card. And so at the end of every listing appointment, I say, what happens next is, here's my contact info, here's Shannon's contact info, here's what's going to happen next on this 2-person business card. And it just gives the customer that peace of mind. But when they're looking at it, they're like, I can see in their eyes that, because they're sitting across from me, I'm getting some salt and the pepper now, but they're looking at Shannon or Valerie's picture and they're like, how old? Like some people have called me up. Is she good? How good is she? Has she done this before? And depending on my relationship with the person, I'll be like, no, she's brand new. She's never done this before. But if they're like legitimately concerned, it's like Shannon's been doing this for years. Like about how many transactions in your real estate history would you say you've personally been involved with?
That I've personally touched on, I would say it would be about 600 transactions.
Yeah. So a lot of transactions.
Do you ever find that someone is bothered that you're providing too much information, you're providing too many touch points? It's like, okay, back off. You're reaching out too much. Or do you find that that you never reach that point, that folks love that constant communication and always staying in touch with them?
What do you think, Shannon?
So I think that's something that we're working on now. A, I don't think that they've ever seen too much, but B, we're also trying to make our systems be a little bit more proficient, giving them documents that's not going to overwhelm them, and just kind of being there every step of the way for them. That's
a really good point, because a lot of this, like the seller disclosures, for example, can seem stressful when they're getting the house ready to the market. And that's something else we do that's different, is we actually pay for, like, we call it a home readiness consultation, or it can be like a designer comes in and gives the homeowner tips on how to get the house ready for market. And that list of tips can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes. So even though I tell them you can do all the things, you can do none of the things. We're just here to help, guide you and facilitate this for you. Sometimes you're right, Shannon. It can be a little overwhelming, the amount of communication. And to answer your question, the only time I've ever gotten pushback on the communication is when they're hearing things they don't want to hear, right? And so when I'm constantly saying, or Shannon's communicating, hey, the feedback is you need to get rid of the cat smell. Like they don't like hearing that over and over again. Or, hey, you need to do a price adjustment. Or the house needs to be more available to be shown than 3 to 5 on a Wednesday.
Right.
Like that's kind of where they get frustrated. But that's just an ongoing conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, when we come back from the break, I have a challenging question for you, Shannon.
All right.
I'd love to hear your response.
Let's do it.
We are just weeks away from the year 2026. Can you believe it? Wouldn't it be great to start off this new year on the ground running? Well, it can happen with our friend Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. He can either have your home already sold or everything in place before we even hit 2026. So if you want to find more information and find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition, or read some of their 1,000 5-star Google reviews, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, online at madeformorerealty.com.
So we are back with Shannon Bassham, closing manager, the other half of my brain, Made for More extraordinaire. What was your question for him, Matt?
So looking at your position where you say you manage a lot of those technology touch points and with the clients, and just looking at all the different tasks that you manage for Johnny and Made for More, a lot of people would argue, well, you know what? AI can do that. We've heard from a lot of tech gurus who say AI is at the point where you can eliminate positions like Shannon because AI will do all of those tasks for you. How would you respond to that?
I have some strong thoughts around this. What are you
do as well.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think buying a home and selling a home is the most personal thing you can do. I don't think people want AI to be taking that over. They still need that personal touch of someone there rather than AI.
I agree.
So AI can't send those emails or texts?
I talk to them on the phone as well. So I think it's those phone calls that really help people through the transaction, keeping them updated that way.
People underestimate how much conversation goes on in a real estate transaction. So we're helping my dad, my grandparents passed, we're helping my dad sell the family house. And my dad, it's kind of fun for him to be a part of this. So he's, interacting with Shannon and me. And he called me up the other day. He's like, Johnny, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, Shannon called me like 4 times yesterday about all these different things. It was all handled. It was taken care of. But like, that's just me. And I'm like, chill. I don't even this isn't, I know I'm not like a problem or like a high maintenance person. Right. And so he's like, I don't understand how you do it with all the businesses and stuff that you have going on. And so as far as AI taking over something like what Shannon does, that's going to be really hard to do. And it's definitely not there yet.
Yeah.
And even if it was, do you want that?
Right.
Does the person want to talk to a computer, or do they want somebody who has decades of experience they can go in and see in person
Sure.
But the other thing was like working in the office. Like that was something that I forgot to mention that earlier.
So does Johnny require you to come into the office 5 days a week? Or?
Yes, he does. I am in office 5 days a week.
So that was when you did the interview, because I know you're a millennial and a lot of younger folks.
How do you know she's a millennial?
Well, because she looks like a millennial. She dresses like a millennial. She talks like a millennial. No, but, and that's not to say anything bad about millennials. Millennials are great. But.
Is it?
I think we are.
Yeah.
But so when he did the job interview with you, did you ask for that flexibility? Hey, can I work remotely? Or was he straightforward and said, hey, if you want this position, you got to be in the office at this time every day and et cetera?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no like conversation really about it. I knew the job was in office 5 days a week. So I knew the expectations going into the interview. He did mention it, but from previously working remote in the position that I have, I realized how much better it is to be in office than to be remote. So going into it, I knew what I was getting myself into.
You did. I was like adamant about that. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of people who work for us virtually, love it. But when I went and shadowed one of these guys, he's selling 750 houses a year in a really small market. He has like 15% market share, which is incredible. Like all of EXP, like if you add us all up, we maybe have 15% market share. And this one guy in this other market has 15% market share. And he walked in, or his assistant walked in. She was in an office right adjacent to his. And so it was like 5 steps. She would 5 steps to his desk. And she brought in a piece of paper, and they went through 60 listings, 60 active listings in 5 minutes. And it was like, we need to do this, 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 this. And it just blew my mind. I was like, there is no way I can be that effective in my job,
right?
And effective for my clients by having somebody remote. And so when I drove home that day and posted the job, it had to be in person. It was a non-negotiable. And just by Shannon being there, like she hears more, she gets to know the office and the workings of like other people in the office. There's just so many intangibles that if you're working remote, ultimately that the people who are working remote are doing it because of them. They're not doing it because it helps their position.
Right.
That's my take on it.
It benefits them, not necessarily you.
It benefits them, not the company, maybe not even their career, but it benefits them in that moment.
Yeah.
And so with Shannon being there in office, it is like if somebody's looking to. So I've had people call me, "Hey, how do you hire an assistant? What do you do?" And I'm like,
especially
in
a young assistant, because we've had trouble even here at the radio station looking to fill certain positions. And you look at certain demographics. You look at someone who's older, who has the experience, but they're not as great when it comes to technology, right? And maybe they're more available because their kids are grown up and they can come into the office.
Yeah.
And so you look at someone like that and they say, okay, well, they're just not as quick. They're not as smart. Right?
Who?
As a younger person.
Oh.
And the older folks, right? Because when you're looking at filling a position, you look at certain demographics and you say, I want someone stable. I want someone who's not going to be distracted. So I'm going to go with a more mature person, an older person. But again, they're not as quick and they're not as up to speed with technology. And so you go, okay, well, what about a younger person? And what we have seen with younger people is that they're a little just flat out flaky. They're not as committed to positions and jobs. So
they leave their phones in bars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or they are on their phone during the workday, and so there's that back and forth.
I don't think that's an age thing. I think that's a maturity thing. And then there are
absolutely.
There are mature people at any age bracket.
Sure, absolutely. So that when you're talking about finding that key position, when you were talking about people asking you, well, how do you find those assistants? Yeah. What is going through your mind when you're looking for that certain person? So
there's 2 ways, right? Shannon is the first person we've hired that came with skills. Right? There's 2 ways. You can either hire somebody that's already has a proven track record like Shannon.
Right.
Or you can hire somebody who is new to that role or new to that position and you have to train them up. And so those are the 2 main tracks. I will say, and not to what's the word I'm looking for? Over exaggerate or like puff up Shannon, but from day one, she came in and she was like, hey, here are some things that we can change. Here's some things we can implement. Oh my gosh, Johnny, you spend way too much money. Kudos to Shannon. She's the first person that's ever told me that. that I had in my employment, besides my wife. My wife told me that all the time. But like instantly there were things. So if somebody's looking for an assistant or looking for somebody like that, my suggestion would be make sure which route you want to go. Do you want to train them up, or do you want to have somebody that's already trained and can help implement day one? So when you look at Meta or Google or Oracle or these big companies, they are hiring known talent. They are paying a lot of money. It's like hiring a professional athlete. They are hiring somebody and they're paying a lot to bring that person in. And I was willing to pay more for a Shannon. Shannon, what is somebody, that's my take on it. But for you on the other side of the desk, like what do you look for in an employer? Because I think that's more interesting to me is like what, when you, because you've interviewed with some other teams in the area, what are you looking for in an employer? What is somebody, a millennial, somebody like that's looking to, join another company? What would be the reason that they would join one company over another?
I felt like when I interviewed with you, you were extremely honest about what you wanted in this position, and I found that sometimes other realtors haven't been as honest as what they're looking for. Kind of try to fluff it up and make it seem like it's a different position than it is. And I also just felt like you had an expectation going into this, and you told me what it was right away, and I really appreciated that. And
the clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you want somebody that kind of knows what they're looking for, has a process, and isn't trying to just figure it out necessarily. And
yeah, I was a little nervous going into it, knowing that in previous positions I've implemented all my own systems, and you guys already had a million systems. So it was me coming in and learning, but I feel like it's worked out super well for all of us.
I agree. And so if somebody is looking to hire a real estate agent, I've heard it. I mean, Kathleen was on here a couple of weeks ago, RTC, and she was saying it's always dangerous if you hire a real estate agent that does not have a transaction coordinator. What would you say to somebody who is doing any type of like business, them not having an assistant? Like I would argue that'd probably be something similar.
Yeah, I agree. I think without having an assistant or without having someone in a position like me, a lot of things are falling through the cracks without you even knowing.
As the homeowner, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As a homeowner or a buyer, you're just getting missed out on things when there's not two people to communicate with rather than just one.
Correct. Because if I'm like driving from an appointment to appointment, I might be, and I'm the sole point of contact. I could be missing calls. I could be missing buyers trying to submit offers on the property. There are things that are happening that I am unaware of, or I'm going to have to get back to at a later time. And that like speed saves deals, and the lack of speed kills deals. Like, the longer it takes for something to happen, the less likely it is for that buyer, that seller to get the better deal on their home. So, so if anybody's looking to, work with Made for More and wanting to buy or sell a house, I just want to make sure that they knew that Shannon was part of the team, a valued part of the team, and that you've been doing this now for a long time. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd want to say? Like one more question. We got two questions. One
more question. We got two more questions.
One for each, because there's always buyers and sellers. What is the number one thing, if you could wave your magic wand and make sellers understand this, or if you could change something for sellers, what would it be?
I would say that we always have like them in mind of all the decisions that we're making. Like sometimes sellers, I understand the sale of like a house is so personal, but they're stuck on one thing when sometimes we do know better, and it is better to price lower, or it is better to get these repairs done rather than listing without it. But I think it's just maybe putting a little bit more trust into your real estate agent.
That's a really good answer. It's probably the same answer for buyers then too, right? Or do you have something different for buyers?
No, it's probably, it's the same for both.
Got it. That's really good.
I have another challenging point on that is, Johnny, you've talked about this. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm having back problems, but I'm okay now. You've talked about this for over.
You're not a millennial, clearly.
No, I'm obviously not. No, I'm up there. AARP is pounding on my door. But you've talked about this a lot, that all realtors are not the same.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you can understand how homeowners, if they've not worked with a top professional like yourself, how they could have trust issues, that maybe this realtor this is a hobby for them. They're not 100% invested into it. Yeah. They don't know what's going on. So you can understand how some buyers and sellers who have had sketchy past experiences, how they're not 100% confident in all the realtors that are out there, that they actually do know what they're doing like you guys do.
Yeah, a good realtor is not common.
Right.
It's like, I would say 10% or less of the realtor population is really good, which means the 90+ % that you're bumping into at the grocery store, or that's telling you that they're a realtor when they're at their real job, right?
Right.
And then, they work for the state, but I'm also a realtor, so I totally understand that.
So you guys have to do a good job. Which it seems like you're doing is building that confidence that, hey, you can trust us. We are working the best for you, and you can trust our advice and our counsel and how we're leading this transaction. But we're different than everyone else.
But the thing is, too, is that a lot of people are used to that one agent experience.
Yeah.
And they don't like having... they don't like change. There's something different. And so having like a Shannon there makes them like, well, I hired you. How does that look?
Right.
And I totally get that. But like, let's just list off some different professions here. If you go into an attorney's office, do you call that attorney directly?
No, but I would say that's different.
Okay.
I would say
all right,
the interaction you have.
Okay, so it might be different. What about your doctor? What about your chiropractor? What about if you get your toes done?
Right. No, that makes sense.
Like across the gambit, if you're getting ice cream, right? If you're at Chipotle, right? The person that takes your order, if you're at Starbucks, the person that takes your order is oftentimes not the person that's actually making the coffee. Mm-hmm. And so why would you expect, and the reason why they're doing that is because you're able to provide a higher level of service to the end customer. So why should it be different in real estate? Why should you expect the realtor to handle all the inbound calls, to handle all the marketing, to negotiate everything, to visit you in person, to show you all the homes, and that's just for one client. Mm-hmm. And now you should, any realtor worth their weight will have multiple clients. Mm-hmm. And so now it just becomes 1,000 different hats that the realtor is trying to spin, or plates that they're trying to spin, and the quality of service goes down. So that's why I really think this is where the industry is going. The industry needs more Shannons.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Shannon?
Yeah, I'm also a licensed realtor, so...
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I have come to the table with that. I have my real estate license. I've been doing this for almost a decade, so I come with a lot of experience, and I feel like it is good for clients.
It's so good. I get why they're concerned, though, because it's a new thing for many of them, and oftentimes if they have done this before, there's a red real estate company out there that is known for kind of assembly lining the system, and so the clients are always getting passed to a different person,
Yeah.
Right? That's not the case here. This is like, it's Shannon and Johnny if you're working with us, and it's us throughout the entire thing.
Right.
So it's not like you're getting passed. Like, we do have other elements of the team. We have nearly 10 different staff members just on the staff, and then there's vendors outside of that. But as far as your main point of contact, you have Johnny and Shannon 100% of the way. Mm-hmm. So with that,
there you go. Seems like you have to change the name now.
Johnny and Shannon.
More with Johnny and Shannon.
Made for More Realty, sponsored by Shannon. So, all right, Shannon, it was an absolute joy having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Was this fun?
This was so much fun.
All right, lie some more.
So I'm not one of those people who makes New Year's resolutions. I don't know about you, but to me, that's all lip service. It's all talk. I want action. I want to get things done now. And that's how Johnny Jennings and his team at Made for More Realty operate. They want to get you the most money possible and sell your home as fast as possible. So if that's what you are interested in, then just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Find out how they can sell your home in as-is condition. They can get you at least 3 cash offers for your home in as-is condition, and you can read all of their 1,000 5-star Google reviews. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, online at madeformorerealty.com.
That was fun having Shannon on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to having her back, and can't wait till we have more transactions under the belt together, because, man, that girl is wicked smart.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some current events. I know you have some questions about the
Well,
50-year.
President Trump announced, and this is a big conversation that's been going on, not just in the real estate market, but I think, was it Dave Ramsey? They announced that he's having a heart attack, or
he'd gone cardiac arrest.
Yeah, he had cardiac arrest when he found out that President Trump, and not just Trump, but the whole administration, what is it, the Fair Housing Department, announcing an idea. It's not yet implemented, but a 50-year mortgage loan, because they think it might stimulate the economy, providing the opportunity for people right now who can't afford a home, that maybe if they're offered a 50-year mortgage, I mean, can you imagine that? A 50-year mortgage, that maybe it stimulates the real estate market, and you got more people that can afford to purchase a home. But of course, Dave Ramsey, he doesn't even like 30-year loans. He thinks the 15, most you should have is a 15. So imagine a 50-year loan. Oh my gosh, nobody's going to pay off their home.
No.
What are your thoughts on that? Good idea, bad idea?
So at the core of it, the 50-year loan is trying to solve the problem of affordability. Right?
Yeah.
And all it's doing is it's just kicking the can down the road. The problem is that home prices and wages are not in alignment. Mm-hmm. So either prices need to adjust down or home prices need to go up. Or now here's this third option where you can now, by increasing the term, drive that monthly down. And so selfishly, as a real estate agent, I think it's a great thing, because there's going to be more people moving into the market, more people purchasing homes. There's going to be more sales taking place, and a real estate agent gets paid when a sales takes place. Mm-hmm. So I think selfishly, there would be a benefit to me. Long term, though, I don't see how this solves anything. So if you rewind the clock back, it used to be like 20% down was what you needed to get a home, and then they changed that. And now you can get a home down. There's 0% down. There's grant programs. There's like low money down programs.
Right.
And these are quality loan products. These aren't like predatory type loans, but they did that to improve housing affordability. And what did it do? It just drove prices up. And now, if you're going to introduce a 50-year loan and people are comfortable with a $3,000 a month payment, are they going to now all of a sudden, if the house they wanted was $3,000 a month, but now they can buy a way better house,
right,
and still have that what are they going to do? They're going to buy the more expensive house.
Yeah, that's true.
So now you're just going to drive prices up, and then in a matter of years, we'll be back to where we are right now. So then the question then becomes, well, do we get a 60-year loan or a 75-year loan or a 100-year loan, and how far do you push this out? And it's really just a Band-Aid. It's not solving the root issue. So,
but you can always refinance, right? You get in, and then
that's a great
refinance.
That's a happy thought. But there's a lot of people who were told date the rate, marry the house, just refinance later.
Yeah.
Well, if they purchased in late 2021, many of them are still waiting to refinance years later.
Right. Well,
and so let's say you go to sell the house and you have a 50-year note, and the home prices haven't appreciated a whole lot. Well, guess what? You know who the real winner is? So this is. And I'm not saying this is Trump's heart in this. I can't speak to that. But the real winner in this 50-year loan program are the banks, because the mortgages are front-loaded with interest payments. So when you first buy a house, most of the payment you're making is in interest, and a small portion goes to principal. And so what's going to happen over this 50-year program is you're going to pay way more in interest to the banks. So the banks should like this program.
Right.
But the problem is if you go to sell the house in 5 to 7 years and you have been making the small principal payment, do you have enough equity to sell the house?
Oh, probably not. No.
Right?
Absolutely
not. And so now we're back in the spot where, hey, nobody can afford to sell their house because the house needs to be worth so much more than what the market currently is.
Yeah.
So I think it's a buzzword. I think people would like it short term, but you look up 10, 15 years from now, they'll be like, what the heck did we do?
Well, I mean, the interest rates aren't dropping as fast as President Trump would like. And you've got a lot of...
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So the interest rates, they've done 2 price adjustments. Since Trump has been president. You know where interest... Small,
quarter,
though. They've done quarter. So anybody can have access to this. It's called Mortgage News Daily.
Yeah.
It's an app. It's a website. You can go on there. Before they did their first rate adjustment this year, the average 30-year note or 30-year interest rate was 6.15%. That was the average. They've done 2 since then.
Yeah.
It's at 6.34 right now. So just because the Fed drops the rate does not mean
So
interest rates are lower.
explain why that is. Do you understand why that is?
On a very basic level, it has to do with like people buying like bonds, and they're selling government debt, but people are not confident. There's a couple different things. Domestically, people are not confident, and internationally, people are not confident in the strength of the economy and the U.S. dollar, and so they're not going to buy American debt, because they're worried about what that's going to look like. And there's other investments out there that are doing better. So I think the Fed, honestly, and I've said this before, I think the Fed has lost control, and Trump's pressuring them to do something, but they're like, dude, we can't. We could drop it to 1%, but it's not going to change anything. It's not going to drop. Like banks are not going to lend at that.
Okay.
And so by doing those two adjustments, a total of 0.5%, interest rates are still higher than where they were back in September. So I think the Fed has lost control of that lever. That's my personal take on it.
So if we're stuck into this position, right, where it doesn't look like interest rates are going to go down, and you've got all of these people, especially younger folks that are growing up and they want to start a family, they want to own a home, but they can't. And isn't this 50-year mortgage a solution?
No, it's not a solution, because let's rewind it. Why do you want to buy the house?
To raise a family.
Okay.
To have the American dream.
Okay. And so we're talking about money. So what's the financial benefit to owning a house?
Well, for everyone, it's not necessarily a financial advantage. For some folks, it's just they don't want to rent an apartment. They want to live in a home.
So why don't you just rent a house?
Because that's not economically sensible either, right?
I think with the 50-year note and where we are right now, it is. Because there are so many people right now who bought between 2020, 2021, we just sold a house in January. The person that bought the house, I don't know what happened in their life, but they are short selling the house. They're upside
Some folks,
down.
get into financial situations where, they have to sell it quickly. But wouldn't you agree that for most people, they're in it for the long run? It's all about the monthly, right? They just need to get into a home that it's all about the monthly. And even though it may not be as much as a 15 or a 30-year mortgage, they're putting money into the home, it's an investment.
It's not an investment. Investment puts money in your pocket. If you're paying it out every month, that's not an investment. That's a liability.
But you're paying down
You're paying the bank. That's my point. Is that I don't think you're going to pay down the interest, the principal, enough to keep up with the cost of what you're paying out in interest and maintenance on the home, property taxes, and so let's say you have a 5% interest rate on your home. Let's say it's a 4% interest rate on your home. Well, on average, homes appreciate somewhere between 3 to 4% each year. So you're not even keeping pace with inflation.
Right. I hear you.
And so I think what this is enabling people to do is buy a property that they can't afford in the first place, and then just kick the can down the road. It's not moving them into a better financial position. What I would be interested in seeing is a 50% note, maybe on more like investment type properties. So if you put a certain amount down, you can have a 50-year loan, and now that family that before wasn't able to buy an investment property is now owns a single family home, or owns a duplex, or owns a fourplex, and now has cash flow coming in. If they do that, that would be way better for that family long term than getting a 50-year loan on a home they couldn't afford in the first place, and they needed that 50-year loan to make it work.
Yeah, interesting.
But that's not what people are going to do. They're gonna buy the house, and people will need to stay in their homes longer. If you're paying down, if you're paying down the loan slower, you're going to need to stay.
It's a bigger commitment for sure.
You're going to need to stay in the home longer to upgrade to that next property.
It's just like when you purchase a car. Now, home loan or car loans are at least 5-7 years now.
Yeah.
When I was young, it was 3 years, and now you're committed to that car absolutely for a lot longer than you used to be. So
I think 2026, if it continues the way it's going, is going to be a better year for real estate agents. If they introduce this 50-year home loan, it'll be a phenomenal couple of years for real estate agents. But stack that cash high, stack the paper tall, because when everybody buys the house that can now afford the house on the 50-year note, nobody's moving. Right.
It's a good point, unless interest rates are down and they can refinance.
If.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Every time somebody buys a house, that's just going to fuel inflation, because they're buying a house. Let's say they put 5% down, right? Where's the rest of the money coming from? It's coming from a bank that's lending it to you, that just printed the money. Where's the bank getting the money? It's getting it because it borrowed it from the government.
Right.
Right. And so it's just part of the reason why inflation got out of hand was because of the low interest rates and the number of people that were going out buying houses, among other things.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And so by introducing this is just going to, in my opinion, hurt inflation and keep those interest rates high.
Yeah. Interesting perspective. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Nobody else has
No,
brought this up?
no, absolutely. Yeah, it's a debate back and forth because people want to see, especially, Trump supporters, they want to see the economy. Everybody wants to see the economy improve. That's why they put President Trump into office. They want to see interest rates go down. They want to see grocery prices be more affordable. They want to see the housing market improve. And so they're looking at different strategies. So whether or not they agree with this 50-year, I think they're in a similar position as you are, is that they understand that it's not the perfect solution, but it's something that could help some folks who are really eager to purchase that home. And because of interest rates, really can't afford to get into a home right now. And so maybe the 50-year mortgage plan helps bring down their monthly payment. So it's an idea. It's not been implemented yet, but this is why we're having this conversation. And
but everybody's talking about improving the economy. What does that mean? Like gas prices are down. I'm seeing 3s now.
Not in California.
In California, I drove past a couple different places that had 3s.
Grocery prices going down, gas prices going down, the job numbers being a little bit more positive than they have been. Not seeing company after company after company laying off thousands of employees.
But that is what's happening. And so my point is like, when's good enough? Right, if we're being honest,
that's a great point.
That is never going to be.
It's never good enough.
If you hire the Democrat will do better. If you hire the Republican's going to do better. If the Republicans in office give us longer, we'll do more better. And it's
true.
It's a nebulous thing.
It's never good enough.
It's never going to be good enough. And so that's why you need to work with Made for More,
because
we are good enough. Expect
and
more.
There's
and
always more. You
Expect
get more.
Get more. Yeah, more house. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about the special thing happening right now in real estate.
We are just weeks away from the year 2026. Can you believe it? Wouldn't it be great to start off this new year on the ground running? Well, it can happen with our friend Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. He can either have your home already sold or everything in place before we even hit 2026. So if you want to find more information and find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition, or read some of their 1,000 5-star Google reviews, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, online at madeformorerealty.com.
So an article recently came out stating that the average age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. Up from a few years ago, up significantly from about 5 years ago.
How old were you when you bought your first home?
I'm 24.
Wow. So you beat the average by 16 years. Well, obviously, it was probably younger when you first bought your home. I was 31, something like that. And so why do you think that is? Again, does it all come down to affordability?
I don't think affordability has jack to do with it. I don't.
Wow. Okay.
And so here it is. So I was living in a so it comes down to lifestyle choices and priorities. That's what it comes down to. If you went to college and you racked up a ton of college debt,
it's going to be hard for you to buy a home.
It's going to be hard for you to buy a house.
Yeah.
That was a choice you made. Nobody held the gun to your head and told you to do that. Johnny went to a local community college because he had a little scholarship to the local community college for free. Right? That was a choice.
Do you need a scholarship to go to a community college?
You don't need a scholarship, but if you want them to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I didn't have to pay for the first 2 years. And then Johnny decided, okay, where's the cheapest place that I can finish up my 4-year degree? And it was either going to be, and I ended up in Bakersfield. So I was either going to go to the Naval Academy, which was free, again,
right.
Free 99. You got to commit 5 years afterwards to the military, or Bakersfield. And so I went to Cal State Bakersfield. This was a choice. I'm not saying my choice is right for everybody, but it was a choice. And so where we are in life is a sum.
So you're saying your choices were more conservative fiscally.
So and my choices were geared towards having a house. Like if people are in their 20s and 30s and they're wanting to party, if they're wanting to go on vacations, if they're wanting to have these experiences in life, well, that costs money. right? And if that's your priority, then don't be complaining when you're 40 that you couldn't buy a house.
Well, I guess it's similar to folks waiting to get their driver's license, teenagers waiting to get to their driver's license. We're seeing, I don't know what the average is, but they're waiting till they're in their 20s, mid-20s. I remember when I was old enough to get my driver's license, I had to wait a week, and I thought that was forever. Everyone that I knew got their driver's license on their birthday when they were 16. I had to wait a whole week later.
Oh, man.
And then same thing with kids. People are waiting a lot longer to have kids. And so I think you're right to some degree that they're waiting.
No, there's no some degree about it, Matt. There's no, if somebody
you don't think affordability has anything to do with it? We just talked about that.
I think So what's happened is that people have been empowered to make a lot of bad decisions, and now those decisions are coming home.
What do you mean empowered?
So you can go out and you can get student loans.
Yeah.
Right? The universities have been empowered by students being able to pay their inflated tuition costs to now charge these higher rates.
Right.
And what are you getting for this? What type of tangible product are you getting that you can now walk into the marketplace when you graduate? So Valerie spent 5 years getting a nutrition degree. She would have to spend another 2 years to become a registered dietitian. And at the end of that whole process, her pot of gold at the end of the rainbow was a $70,000 a year job. And she was going to spend way more than that in college for a $70,000 a year job. You've got to be kidding me. So the whole college thing, like people are spending way too much money on something that's not producing a result.
I would agree. It makes sense. Yep.
There are immigrants that come to the country that don't have two pennies to rub together that are buying houses. It is 100% in this country. If you want to, you can figure out how to own a home. There are government programs, there are grant programs, there are ways that you can earn an income. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to own a house, but you also want to do some other things, well, you can't do both. And so, that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to choices.
They want to go on vacations they can't afford, purchase cars they can't afford, and so a home is not a priority any longer.
I don't think a home really is a priority, and I think the facade of a home being an investment is slowly crumbling. And so people are like, well, why am I going to put a bunch of money down and lock myself into this house that'll be there for a few years when I might want to move anyways?
Yeah.
And then I might make some money on the house. I might not make some money on the house. Like you might have an increase in your bank account, but if you add up all the expenses you had over those few years of home ownership, or is it really a net positive?
Right.
And but short-term interest rates have doubled, or mortgage rates have doubled because they were at ridiculously low prices a few years ago, and they were at ridiculously low prices to stimulate the economy. It shot prices up. So what needs to happen is the government needs to stay out of it. Like let the housing market heal.
Yeah.
Right now, it is starting to heal. You're starting to see more people come to the market. You're starting to see prices soften. Interest rates have not gone down significantly in order to stimulate this change. You're seeing the market heal. And I don't think that the whole 40 thing, I think it's a change in priorities. Is the reason why people are having kids later in life? Is that because they can't afford kids?
Right.
I think it's a change in priorities. It's just a change in priorities. And so you can blame the builders, you can blame interest rates, you can blame college debt, but at the end of the day, who has control over you? You need to accept personal responsibility for where you are in life.
No, that's a great point. So do you see that changing at all, or do you think we're going to continue down this road where we don't prioritize family and owning a home, and we just kind of move towards a society like Europe where our values are just changed and we don't own property anymore?
I think one of the best things out of the Trump presidency so far is a spotlight on that there is another side to the United States, another side of values that has not been vocally heard for nearly 15 years. Like that has not played a role in culture, that has not played a role. You don't see it in television, you don't see it in the movies, and now it's starting to play a role. And so with Skydance potentially buying Paramount, and potentially buying Time Warner and TikTok, I think you're starting to see a cultural shift. Like already in my feed, I'm seeing more people talking about having kids, talking about having bigger families. The joke is now that 4 kids is what 3 kids used to be a few years ago. And so there is this cultural shift in part of the country. And if this continues, I'm curious to see what that happens. I'm more interested in a spiritual or Christian revolution.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in that. I think that would provide more.
Sure. That changes everything.
I think that changes everything.
Yeah.
It changes families. It changes kids. It changes household incomes. It changes everything.
So in the people that you work with, especially under the age of 40, let's say millennials or even Gen Zers, I guess, for goodness sakes, Gen Zers are at the age where they could possibly purchase a home. What characteristics or would you say that you see in those folks that are different from these other people who say that you're saying owning a home is not a priority? What do you see in them, in those younger folks that are interested in buying their first home?
So whether it was me when I bought my first house, 10 years ago, or whether it's somebody who bought a house when he was 19 just a couple of years ago, what I see is that they have a hunger, they have a drive, they have a purpose. There's a reason why they're doing it. And
Are they purchasing it for an investment, or are they purchasing it because they want to have a family and live in that house for decades?
It can be both, right? So they might have a family and want to have this house, and then they're going to say, hey, but we know this is a short-term thing. It's a smaller house. We'll turn this into a rental when we move into the next house.
Yeah.
But they have a plan. They're intentional. They're not. Life isn't happening to them.
Right.
They are intentionally going through life, waking up every morning and moving towards their goals. And so if somebody is just wakes up one day and decides they want to own a house, that's going to take some planning. It's going to take some effort. And we're happy to do that. We have so many resources to help guide you through that first-time process of buying a house that there's no reason why you can't do it. But I think too oftentimes people say, hey, I can't because of this, and they use the excuses.
Yeah.
But the excuses are not the real reason. Stop eating out, pay down your credit cards, pay off your student loans, or go back to school or get a job that's going to pay you better. It might not have the hours, might have the flexibility,
right?
But it's going to increase your economic situation. It can improve your economic situation, so you can then go out and buy the home that you're wanting to purchase, or the investment you're wanting to acquire. But there's so much upward mobility in this country. There's no reason why people have a leg to stand on when they complain.
Right. Okay. So you're adamant that it's not the affordability issue that's delaying people buying their first home.
So generally speaking, that's what people would say.
Okay.
But if it's an affordability issue, then why is a 19-year-old buying a triplex? Then why is a 23-year-old buying a home?
Right.
Who just got married, the wife doesn't work, and they have one car. They have one car.
Right.
That they made conscious decisions to be able to make those changes or have those things in their lives or not have those things in their life. And so, yes, you can blame affordability, but at the end of the day, blaming somebody else for your problems doesn't solve your problem.
One last question, because we're almost out of time. I've heard many folks saying that during the fall and during the winter, most people that are selling their home go into hibernation.
Yeah.
And they're waiting till it's spring to sell their home. Is that what you see? A lot of folks, though, we're going into hibernation when it comes to the real estate market. Real estate market is in hibernation right now. Is that true?
I think the realtors go in hibernation. That's what I think happens.
The what?
The realtors, the real estate agents, they go in hibernation.
Is that what it is?
Thanksgiving kicks off, and until the new year, they're recovering from their stressful year of real estate. But what we end up seeing in our business is our best months are typically July and December. And the reason why is because we keep working, and there are a lot of people out there that want to make the move, that are looking for the right home, that are wanting to sell the home. It could be for tax purposes. It could be because of life events. Generally speaking, do sales go down? Yes, sales do decrease, but so does the active inventory. So it's not as fierce. The competition isn't as fierce as it is in April, May, June.
Right.
If you're selling the house or if you're looking to purchase a home. So if you're looking to get a great deal, December is oftentimes the best time of year as a buyer to get a great deal on a house.